If you're new to trading and you want to learn exactly how to read a candlestick price chart, this is the video for you. Okay, I'm going to teach you exactly how to read a candlestick price chart, but more importantly, understand what those candlesticks are telling you. Okay. Now, you probably heard different bunches of names for these candlesticks, and that is not important. Okay, it's overwhelming to remember all these different random fancy names, and I'm telling you that is not important. Okay, what is important is understanding what those price chart candlesticks are telling you, and that's exactly what we're going to learn in today's video. So let's get stuck into it. So here we're looking at a typical price chart. Okay, we've got green candles, and these signify bullish, and we've got red candles that signify bearish. Okay, but what do these candlesticks mean, right? What these candlesticks are doing are telling us price over time. Okay, that's price over time. So each one of these candlesticks you can see on your chart is representing price's journey over a certain amount of time. Okay, now we can view these candlesticks in any time interval we want. Okay, right now we're looking at a 4-hour, and we go ahead and change this. We can look at these at daily, which means that each one of these candles is price over a daily period. We can even look at 1 hour. Okay, so each one of these candlesticks we see here is representing price's journey in a 1 hour period. First things first, let's look at the anatomy of an actual individual candlestick and understand what it is telling us, right? So we've got two examples here. We've got a green and a red. Okay, and I'll explain what they mean in a minute. So we'll start with the green candle, and before I get into the anatomy, I want to just go with the components of the name. Okay, so at the top here, we have the top wick, okay, and that is between this section and this section. And this is sometimes also called the upper shadow. Okay, then we have the body of the candle. Okay, so that is between this section here and this section here. And then we have the bottom wick, or also the lower shadow. Okay, so between this section and this section here. Now, what this is telling us is price's journey over time. Okay, so let's just say, for example, that this candle is a 1 hour candle, okay? Meaning that this is price's journey over a 1 hour time period. So what this tells us is we've got the open, okay? We've got the close, and we've also got the highest point price travel to, and we've also got the lowest point price travel to. So when price closes higher than it opens, this is technically bullish, and the candle will be painted green on most charts. We'll get more into the colors a little bit later. But essentially what it would look like is price opened here. Okay, it moved down to this point. At some point within that hour, it traveled to the high, and then it closed out at this point here. Okay, so it's really important to understand that is price's journey over time. All right, now, some people think that the most volume is traded in the body, or this is the most important part, and that's not true. Okay, this is just showing us where the open and the close was in that given time period. And if you look at a candle of a different time period, it's obviously going to have a different open and close. So it's really important to understand the journey, okay? Open, at some point during that hour, it traveled here. At some point during the hour, it came up here. But at the end of that hour, it closed right here. And that's how we get that candle painted like that. And now, when price closes lower than it opens at the time period, so let's say 1 hour example, when price closes lower than where it opened, it will be painted red on most price charts. And like I said, we'll get more into the colors a little bit later. So we can say price opened here. Okay, at some point during the hour, it traveled up here, and at some point during the hour, it traveled down here, and then it closed here at the end of the hour. Okay, so the opening point, we've got the high, the low, and then the closing point. All right, now this is really important to understand because you need to start visualizing this rather than just seeing red, green candles and knowing names and patterns. It's really important to understand what price did during that time interval. So here we can see we've got 3 green or bullish candles, okay? They all got a different pattern and they all have a different technical name, but that's not important, okay? What's important to us is what did price do during that given time period, okay? So in this first example, we can see price opened at this point, traveled to the low, it visited the high at some point, and at the end of that time period, it closed here. And we'll just keep using 1 hour candles for our example, okay? So in that 1 hour period, price opened here, it traveled to the low at some point, the high, and then the close. Okay, it's also important to know that this can happen in any sequence. Okay, it doesn't need to be in the order that we showed. Okay, so it could visit the high first, then the low, and then the close. Okay, so this is showing us the battle between buyers and sellers during that time period. Okay, now in our next example, we can see it's a little bit different. All right, we can see the open was here, visited the low, the high, and closed here. Okay, now this is a big difference between the open and the close, and obviously this is quite bullish in this example because this is showing price was very strong, buy orders outweighed sell orders, and we closed much, much higher than we opened in that 1 hour period. Okay, now in this last candle, this is also very bullish. Okay, even though we've got this big lower wick or lower shadow, we can see that price opened here, price visited the low, but there was enough buy orders to step in and push price all the way up and closed here. Okay, this is very bullish, okay? It's showing that even though price opened here, it visited down here, but there was not enough sellers to keep price down there. Price visited and closed all the way up here, meaning that it closed higher than where it opened, painting this green color for us, all right? Now, let's have a look at some bearish examples, all right? Very, very similar, all right? So price opens, visits the top, visits the low, closes here. And as we said, this could happen in any order, okay? The low, maybe then the high, then close down here. Next example, very bearish, okay? Opened here, visited the highs, visited the lows, and closed a lot lower than it opened, okay? Showing there's a lot more sellers than buyers in this candle. And the last example as well, okay? Very bearish as well. We can see price opened here. It visited all the way up here during that hour, but then price pushed down more sellers than buyers and closed here, okay? So closed lower than it opened, and all the selling pressure in here was enough to push price down, okay? Now, it's really important to understand the color of the candle is quite irrelevant, okay? It's more important to understand what is price telling us and what was price's journey during that candle so we can understand what the battle between buyers and sellers were, okay? So look at two examples here. Obviously, we have the green candle here and we have the red candle here. So straight off the bat, you'd be thinking, okay, green bullish, red bearish, but that's not actually true in this case, okay? This is actually a very bearish candle, and this is actually a very bullish candle, okay? Even though they're green and red and should be the other way around. What can we see happens in this first green bearish candle example? Okay, we can see the price opened here, right? It traveled all the way to the highs up here, okay? Price got pushed all the way down and only closed, okay, a tiny bit higher than it opened, right? So there was only enough buying pressure to push price up and close here, right? Even though price visited all the way, it wasn't able to sustain these levels and got pushed all the way back down, showing us there's a lot of selling pressure stepping in here. So this is actually quite a bearish candle. And in this example as well, okay, even though it closes red, it's quite a bullish example, okay? We can see the price opened here, visited all the way to the lows, but it was able to close here, okay? So even though technically it closes lower than it opened, okay, closed lower than it opened, there was enough buyers stepping in all these levels to push price back up. So even though the sellers got price down here, price and the buyers were able to push price up here. So that's why colors are not important. I'm going to show you in a second how we can get past that psychological factor of the red and the green, okay? Now, when you can learn to understand what these price candles are telling us, and you can start to identify locations in the market where these price candles can give us a bit of a signal of the market either continuing or reversing, that's when they become really, really powerful. Okay, now we're back on the price chart, and I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of red and green, okay? So red, you know, traditionally for us as humans means bad or stop, okay? And green means good and go. And this can be quite confusing when you're trading because when we see big green candles, okay, often we want to buy. But generally, when we see big green candles, sometimes it can actually be the best time to sell. Okay, same again when we see big red candles, this can be scary and it means we want to keep selling, but sometimes it can actually be the best time to buy, okay? So what I actually suggest in the way I trade is I change the colors of my candles, okay? We want to remove as much emotion from trading as possible, stay really neutral and have a really clear view of the market. So what we do here, and I've got a full tutorial on TradingView, okay, the platform we're using here, and I'll link that in the description below if you want to have a full tutorial of the interface. But essentially we can go into here and we can change the colors of our candles, okay? We go to symbol, we can change the bodies, okay? So I like my up candles or my bullish candles to be white, and then the bearish candles, we put this dark gray color, okay? Now when we're looking at price, okay, there's no red and green, okay? There's no go and stop, and it gives us a much more neutral view of the market and what we're looking at, okay? So we can start to see these candlesticks all over the chart, okay? And we can start to piece together high probability top-down analysis when we stack the analysis of our candlesticks with all of our other technical analysis skills as traders. As always, any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.